Alrighty, y'all, what's up? Welcome to the show. I hope you're doing excellent. Look, we're looking at why U.S. vacation policies are so much worse than Europe's. This is from CNBC. It's be linked in the description down below so you can check them out, browse their channel, all that good stuff. Look, the U.S. has a strong work culture, that's for sure. We like to work over here. At least the companies think that, right? It's hard to get vacations here. Now, there are great jobs, of course, that have vacation and sick leave, but that is not the norm. It's not even federally mandated here. You're lucky to have that if you have it. A lot of places, you don't get any sick time. You barely get any vacation time, even if that. And it can be looked down upon to take time off here, right? It's always like work, work, work. Whereas in other countries, it seems to be, work to live, not live to work. So let's just jump straight into this, see what is going on here in the U.S. Here we go.
The United States is the only advanced economy that does not guarantee paid time off.
Look at that graph. Hold up. I'm gonna go back. Look at this.
The only
Here we go.
advanced economy that does not guarantee.
So look at that. I mean, look at all these big players. Countries everyone knows, everyone's heard of. Everyone watching this is probably, from one of these countries or a country near one of these countries, right? And look at that. I mean, everyone has paid vacation and paid holidays. Some have more than others, but you got something. Look what the U.S. has. A big goose egg, 0. Now, of course, this isn't realistically the case. Most places will give you something. But the fact that it's not federally, mandated that you have some time off, kind of scary, isn't it?
Guarantee paid time off.
We have no federal law saying that you have to provide a certain number of vacation
That is
days.
weird.
And you have entire cultures like, France is a good example where pretty much everybody takes August off and it's just part of the culture. You don't really.
I can vouch for that. My wife went to France many years ago, and she had a friend there, and she got to stay there for like a month or more. And so she really got to see day to day, a preview of what it's like in France. And this girl she went to see in France, her parents there in France, I believe, the dad got to take, I think he took off 3 weeks in a row. It was around summertime, June, I think. And that was just normal. He was off, and they got to go explore and hang out and whatever. And I remember when she told me that, thinking, because this, raised in American work culture, I thought, damn, that must be nice. When the hell have I taken 3 weeks off in a row? That's just not normal at an American workplace. But I can tell you what, I think a lot of Americans would love that. I think it'd be very enjoyable. It always comes back to, if companies realize that giving your employees a good work environment, you want them to produce, you want them to work hard. I understand that. But having a good work culture, a good relationship between employers and employees, and most of all, giving them space when they need it, giving them time off here and there, I think people end up getting refreshed and coming back and working better. They work harder. They have a little more pride in the work because they know that they can do good at work and then get some time off, right? Handle stuff in their personal life, come back refreshed. I think it just makes sense. Why doesn't that catch on here in the U.S.?
Really see that here in the United States.
So when I came to France and I noticed that vacation is a way of life,
Yeah.
People are constantly talking about their vacations. August 15th is actually considered the emptiest day in Paris.
Europeans in general will say, you Americans live to work, we
Yeah.
Europeans work to live.
There
Even
you
though
go.
a majority of Americans do have some kind of paid time off,
Right.
a little less than half
Let's see
actually
these
take
stats, though, right? Because we don't want to generalize. There is no federal law guaranteeing you time off, but like I said, most jobs do. It's not all crazy. You do get time off. 79% of U.S. workers get vacation. So there you go. That's a majority. That is definitely a majority. I will say I'm not surprised it's higher. I would have guessed 85 to 90%. So that is weird that 21% of jobs don't give you vacation time. It's pretty scary. It should be 100%, of course. But it is definitely a majority. So let's throw that out there.
a
Let's be
majority
fair.
of Americans do have some kind of paid time off.
48% of Americans use all of their vacation time. Now, that one's crazy. Look, I'm the type of person, I'll admit, at any job I had, I did use, or at least tried to use, all of my vacation time. So whatever that was, a week a year, 2 weeks a year, whatever it was, I made sure to use all of those because it's there. That's a perk of the job, right? If you get X amount of days for vacation, why wouldn't you use those? So I definitely used them. But it's weird that only 48% of Americans use them. I don't know what that is. I guess I'm a freak over here in America because I used them all. But I know a lot of people that just never took time off. And I mean, if that's what they're into, then good for them. I'm not going to judge someone, but I do find it odd that someone wouldn't want to take their vacation, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Little less than half actually take all of their available vacation time.
On average, 4 days a year per individual being left on the table as it relates to
That's
vacation
crazy.
days.
Something
Wow.
I noticed in America, yeah, we have vacation days, but do people actually go on vacation?
There's a certain
Yeah,
fear.
that's a big thing.
We don't have any legal protections, and so people have been fired for taking vacation time.
True.
I'm a workaholic, but
Which is sad. That's the sad part. Taking vacation time, especially when it's allotted, like you know that you get, say, 2 weeks of vacation per year. Why are people sometimes get in trouble, looked down upon, judged, and sometimes literally fired for taking vacation that they're supposed to have? That's the weirdest part. Like, what is that about? And then to add to the point before that they just said in that transition, it is sad. People like to rip on Americans because the majority, not all, but the majority of Americans don't really get to travel much. It is quite common to travel within North America. So a lot of people do go to Mexico. A lot of people here do go to Canada. And of course, a lot of people go to, different states, right? And that's fun. But a lot of people don't get to travel abroad. A lot of people don't get to go to Europe or Australia or somewhere in Asia or Africa or wherever. It's very hard to get done here. And most people don't realize that when they say, oh, Americans don't travel much. That's not really by choice. A lot of people just can't. It's kind of sad in a way. Like, I think traveling is really refreshing. I think it's very educational. It's something I would love to do. I do wish that more Americans got to travel. I think it'd be healthy. I think it'd be nice. And it just doesn't seem to be a common reality here.
by my very nature, right? One of the things that I used to struggle with early on in my career was I didn't want to leave because I was afraid that people would think I wasn't needed. I was going to lose the air of indispensability, is what they call it, right?
That's a
And in
good
reality,
point.
that doesn't happen.
More workers taking a vacation can help the overall economy. If America
Yeah, that's a good point. Not in that point is real. That's not what I mean. I mean that's the perception. Obviously, if you take vacation, it doesn't mean you're not needed. But what I'm saying is he's right. A lot of Americans think, like, if I leave, I'm going to get judged and they don't need me, right? That's a common fear here.
Americans used the nearly 770 million abandoned vacation days to
Wow.
travel in 2019, it could have injected more than $150 billion
That's
into the
true.
U.S. economy and created 2 million American jobs.
Paid vacations increase productivity, they increase employee well-being.
Yes.
It's also not rocket science. I think most of the evidence suggests that it more than pays for itself.
So why aren't
100%.
Americans going on vacation? And what can we learn from our European counterparts in France? Europe has taken a different policy approach to
Damn.
paid vacation time than
That's
the
a beautiful area. Where's this?
U.S.
Hi, my name is Fatima, and
Damn.
I'm an American that has been living in Paris for about 6 or 7 years now. In France, you find less of that, hustle culture mentality, but it does exist. I think there's this stereotype that the French are not like hard workers, but in actuality, you're gonna find people or industries where it's expected that they stay in late. It's expected that they work on the weekend.
In the
Mhm.
European Union, the floor is 20 days of paid vacation. That's on top of other sorts of paid leave, like paid sick leave, paid new parent leave, that sort of thing. And
Right.
here we have basically nothing.
France provides a minimum of 30 paid vacation days
Damn.
per year.
That's
there are also
spectacular.
many European countries that have paid holidays, which pushes them past France for most paid days off total.
I'm trying to comprehend, as an American who has worked different jobs, being somewhere and, like, getting hired for the job and them saying, oh, by the way, you have 30 days off paid a year, guaranteed. Not to mention maybe holidays too, but let's just focus on the 30 paid vacation days. That is mind-blowing to me because of my American perspective. Like, that is so mind-blowing. I think it's cool. It's just unheard of. Unless you've been at a good job that does have vacation and you have to build up to that. So, like, some jobs may give you a little bit of vacation right off the bat or after 90 days or whatever, but it's only a week or 5 days, whatever. If you want 4 weeks or, basically 30 days of vacation, you would have to be there for like 15 or 20 years, maybe even more. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is just not common unless you're a super veteran at a job. Yeah, hearing that in so many countries, even most of these being 20 or more, is just spectacular. Like, I can't believe it.
The reason EU workers have these vacation benefits is regulation. The European Union Working Time Directive, which was passed in the early 1990s, requires at least 20 working days of paid vacation in all EU countries.
That's
France has
amazing.
gone as far as implementing right to disconnect laws, which regulate after-hour contact between employers and workers in an attempt to protect workers'
Very
right to
interesting.
rest.
Very
I think,
interesting.
The reason why French people take their vacations is because there are really, really strong workers' rights and workers' protections through, the contracts that are set in stone.
France prioritizes leisure time so much that the country established a public agency called the National Agency for Holiday Vouchers, which helps people
Wow.
who may not have the funds to go on vacation.
So everyone knows
What?
France is, on vacation in August, which means that come September 1st, that's when everyone returns. And so in France, they have this thing called la rentrée, which basically means everything's back in session. Businesses close for a couple weeks. I'm talking about your local boulangerie, some restaurants, some stores. It really does range.
The U.S. is quite unique. We have no federal law saying that you have to provide, a certain number of vacation days. We have no state laws that say you have to provide a certain number of vacation days to your employees. It doesn't mean that nobody gets paid vacation. It just means that it's up to the employer and the worker.
Nearly 80% of full-time private sector workers in the U.S. have access to some sort of paid time off for leisure. But when
it varies
dig
greatly.
into those numbers, there's a huge disparity about which Americans actually get it. Only 43% of leisure and hospitality workers have paid vacation time, while more than 90% of those in sectors such as manufacturing, financial activities, and information services do. Even if the U.S. did mandate paid vacation time for workers, cultural attitudes may prevent people from actually using it. 46% of U.S. workers say they don't use all of their time off. Nearly half of those employees worry they might fall behind on their work.
Okay, so let's see this. Yeah, the worry of falling behind, the worry of if I take time off, I'm going to be judged like, oh, you don't take this job seriously, you're always gone, which is hilarious, right? Like, I'm not always gone if I take a couple days off, right? But people act like that here. They feel like they don't need to take, feel badly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It all kind of relates to, it might hurt my chances for a promotion. It might hurt my chances of taking vacation down the road for something important if I take vacation now. Even fear of losing your job. Like, all these things make sense. I've heard all of these. I've either heard all of these or felt all of these at some point. And that's just how it is here, right? In most places. It is weird. And to be honest, until this channel, until I got to open my, eyes to a lot of different cultures around the world, I really didn't know that vacation policies are super relevant in basically most of the developed world. I didn't know that. I thought it was normal not to take a lot of time off. Because that's all I've experienced here, and that's kind of speaks to that American bubble effect, right? You can have well-rounded Americans that know a lot about the world, but most likely they have to seek that out themselves, like me. I love learning about different countries, different cultures, different regions throughout the world, and I'm here literally seeking it out. I interact with so many people on this channel throughout the world, and I absolutely love it. It's very refreshing. It's fascinating. It's beautiful, right? We have an amazing community on this channel. But I had to seek that out myself. Our media is so self-centric, right? We only hear about Canada, U.S., Mexico, and most of that being the U.S. And you just wouldn't hear about different policies, especially surrounding, workers and vacation and worker rights and stuff in other countries. You would never hear that here unless you sought that out yourself. So yeah, it's a weird thing.
Work is some Americans also can't afford to take a trip, especially amid rising costs across the board due to inflation. 56% of U.S. adults said they didn't think they could afford to take vacation last year because of inflation. More than 35% of the American workforce are freelancers, which means if they take vacation, it's on their dime.
Right.
Freelancers struggle with work-life balance, with 92% saying they feel pressure to work on vacation.
Right.
The flexibility of picking their own hours
and yes, I can attest to that too. So I've been on both sides. I've been an employee, many different jobs, and of course I've been self-employed, which I am now. And even being self-employed, okay, now I get days off whenever I want. That's cool. So I solved that for myself. But there is, because of this whole, American surrounding, an American job attitude of, I've been exposed to my whole life, I do feel weird taking days off. Now, of course, I always took my vacation days, so I don't feel super weird. I mean, I do take days off. I also notice when I take a couple days off in a row, I come back to, whatever work I'm doing, and I really go at it because I feel refreshed. But even without fear of being fired, because no one can fire me, I'm self-employed, I do feel like I'm missing out on something if I do take, 3 or 4 days off in a row, because that's just how you think here. You always got to like hustle. That's like the culture here. I think it gets ingrained in your way of thinking.
Remote work may counteract the low vacation time. More than half of freelancers that get their work from Fiverr say they travel while working. Taking vacation is generally good for the economy.
True.
In 2022,
I totally agree with
there were 2
that.
million trips taken, spending almost $840 billion. That really equates to a significant economic contribution to communities across the country. It also supports...
So look at this, 7 million jobs, 840 billion, did they say? That's for a culture that doesn't really promote vacation. So imagine, those are big numbers. Imagine how much more boost to the economy they'd get if they actually had a federal, nationwide support for vacation. Those numbers would jump way up. So it seems like everyone wins if there's just a little bit of a vacation culture here. Why are we holding back on this?
7 million American jobs. Pre-pandemic, the U.S. travel industry employed just as many people as the U.S. auto industry.
Wow.
And that's very significant when you look at that comparison and you think about how that economic impact really does affect communities across the country.
Vacation is good for us in many ways, and one of those is health, both physical health and mental health.
100%.
Taking vacation time is linked to a lower risk of heart disease as well as increased productivity. It can also promote better mental health and has shown a reduction in stress, depression, and anxiety. One study found that 11% of workers said they were planning to miss work the day after the Super Bowl, with nearly half of those workers saying they were either going to call in sick the day of or just not show up and not give their job any warning. Vacation can also help workers be more productive. Workers in countries prioritize...
We're talking 1 day a year. Couldn't the U.S. look? I'll admit, as an American, the Super Bowl is a huge deal here. If you are not from America and you don't get it, that's fine. The Super Bowl is like so big here for people that are into sports, not into sports. It doesn't matter. It's just like it is literally an unofficial holiday here. I really don't see how the U.S. would suffer for just 1 day a year. I think they should just make the day after the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl's on a Sunday, so barely anyone's working anyway. Then that Monday, I don't know why they don't just make it a national day off. That way no one gets like in a bind because like half the workers didn't show up and blah blah. Like that's just not work that day. I mean, would the country collapse? I don't think so. That's what I think we can solve with that. Everyone should be able to just not work the day after the Super Bowl, and I think everyone wins there.
Has vacation more than the U.S., we're more likely to work at a faster pace and have better focus.
Yeah,
I think people have a stereotype of France in their mind as this kind of lazy culture, right? But if you look at the employment rate there for prime age workers, so basically 25 through 54, it's higher than in the U.S., so they have more people working.
There you go.
They're much more productive per hour.
Wow, look at that.
Companies in the U.S.
Someone like a country like France has almost double our production. You saw that just that last graph there. And they take time off. They have a vacation culture. It's not looked down upon. The results speak for themselves. Results speak loudly. The results are in. Come on, U.S., let's get with it. It wouldn't kill anyone to have a little bit of a vacation culture here.
Have been experimenting with different PTO packages to encourage employees to take vacation. One policy proposal is unlimited paid time off. While this may sound good in theory, it doesn't always work out in practice. Early adopters reported that employees took less time off than before the policies were implemented. Another policy is mandatory vacation time, where workers are required to take a certain number of days off.
Okay.
This ensures that employees take time to rest at least once a year.
Right.
Whether or not vacation culture will change in the U.S. is still uncertain.
In the July 31st New York Times 1910, there's a headline that says, "How much vacation time does a man need?" President Taft says 3 months.
Whoa.
This was over a century ago. Why don't
That was in America, and they're saying back then, 100 years ago, you should have 1 to 3 months off? Damn, okay. They were on to something. What happened with that? Alrighty, so that's going to do it for this one. I'm really interested to see the comments on this. I don't know. I know everywhere's different, and countries have different, work cultures and vacation cultures, but I really do think I think everyone would benefit from a shift in vacation culture and the whole work outlook culture in the U.S. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I think it's something that the U.S. needs to go back to the drawing board on, right? Very interesting video, though, and I did skip around a bit, so, of course, use the link down there if you want to watch the whole thing uninterrupted. Browse our channel. And, please leave a comment on your experience and what you think. Do you think vacation is great for your mental health, physical health, and your work production? You feel refreshed, you come back, you go at it. Or do you think vacation's overrated? What is your experience and how do you think you would solve this or go about this if you were a country like the U.S. where vacation is kind of looked down upon? I would love to hear what you have to say. Please throw a like on there if you enjoyed this. Subscribe to be part of this amazing community we have on this channel. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker, and until next time, y'all, don't work too hard, and I'll catch you later.